Do you know what? You can die in an electric car.
It's just scaremongering, and it's quite disgraceful. Hello folks, what happens if you're stuck in the freezing cold in your electric vehicle? Well, this is what someone thinks, and I'd love to know what you think about it, and I've also got a few comments in just a minute.
Terrible in cold weather, absolutely dreadful in cold weather. Do you know what? You can die in an electric car. Careful in cold weather, because if you end up in a traffic jam on a motorway and then you've got your electric car going, you're going to run out of battery and you're going to freeze to death.
No, you can't, but you can certainly die in a petrol car if you're stuck in the snow due to carbon monoxide poisoning. But an EV is clean energy. And if you keep your heater on, or the heated seats, if you're stuck in the snow or a queue, a traffic jam, it will keep you warm and very safe. Hi folks, I'm Nigel. Hope you can subscribe and like, and please leave any comments down below. But running a petrol car stuck in the snow can be extremely dangerous due to the risk of deadly carbon monoxide poisoning from a blocked exhaust pipe. Now, you can get out the car if it's safe to do so, clear the pipe, but then the advice is you can only run your engine for 10 minutes out of every hour. But in an EV, you can run the heater or your heated seats indefinitely. You're very, very safe. He was claiming that you could use up all the energy in your vehicle, but a heater and heated seats uses very little energy. Heated seats use about half a mile's range every hour. So if you're stuck for 16 hours, you're only going to use up about 8 miles of range. And in his Porsche Taycan, it would be even less than that. So it's so minimal, it's really a nonsense to say you could run out of electricity. Absolute nonsense, just scaremongering, and it's quite disgraceful.
On this, the Porsche Taycan electric car, which at the moment I've got 100% of battery and 325 miles of range, and that's in winter, over 400 in summer. So yes, batteries in winter are not as good. For instance, let me just show you this. I've got the heating on 22 at the moment, 325 miles of range, right? And if I turn this off, and then I've actually got 345 miles of range. So I'm losing 20 miles by just having the heater on in my car. So yes, the cold weather does affect the charging of electric cars and also the range of electric cars. And I'm going to read you a little story on here that I found online. I thought this is actually quite informative.
So he's saying EVs lose range in the colder weather. True. So do petrol cars lose range. A significant amount, between 10 and 20%, because the engine needs a richer fuel mix to function. And ICE car heaters also reduce its range. It's not just EVs that have a reduced range in colder weather.
By the way, we'll say this before I read you this out. I had my Gen 1 Taycan, which was not as good in the cold weather. And I did a video where I think I almost froze to death in my electric car. And it was a terrible experience that I had, because I was running low on charge and I couldn't find a charger that actually worked. And I ended up having to spend 2 days in a hotel where they actually had a charger, and I charged for free. But I couldn't get to any of the charging points because they've got no canopies over them, and it was snowing. And because it was snowing, I couldn't drive up to the charging points because there was no canopies and it was covered in snow.
So he couldn't charge his EV because it was snowing and there were no canopies. I don't know how deep the snow was, and so he couldn't drive up to the charger to charge his car. I really don't know what he's talking about. I really don't. I mean, it's not like we're in Canada and it's 6 foot deep.
So there we go, a little fact for you. Right, how much does cold weather affect the range of electric cars? Well, winter temperatures are known to reduce battery efficiency in EVs, potentially fueling range anxiety amongst buyers. But how much of a problem is it really? If you've got a Porsche Taycan Generation 2, it's not a problem if you go and have
So that's great if you can afford a 100,000 plus Porsche, but most of us can't. as you could buy 10 used Teslas for that amount, or 2.5 new Teslas for that price. It just shows how good it is. Scaremongering videos on YouTube and clickbait, it's a great profession. Perhaps I should be doing that as well. Nah, I think I'd rather tell the truth.
The number of motorists opting to buy an electric vehicle in the UK continues to rise. Well, does it? Or is that just the ones that they've actually registered? That's another story. More than 470,000 electric cars were registered in 2025, according to the Society of Motor Manufacturers. Indeed, pure battery EVs achieved a market share of 23.4%, which is expected to place the UK as the second largest market in Europe behind Germany. It comes as the UK government attempts to encourage more people to make the switch to EVs, offering a discount of up to £3,750 for certain models, although at the same time they also bring in the 3 pence per mile charge, which is going to put people off of buying an electric car. Well done, Rachel Thieves. However, there are still some drawbacks of electric vehicles, including how they handle cold weather. Now, I will also say, I actually would rather have an electric car in cold weather. I get into my car in the morning, it's defrosted, it's heated up. I only lost about 1% from doing that. Warm seats, warm steering wheel, all the windows defrosted.
Yes, it's really nice.
I found it a lot better, while my girlfriend was scraping ice off the windscreen. It says here, as the UK endures a bitter cold snap, this will be at the forefront of many electric vehicle owners. But how bad is the cold weather for EV batteries really? Is cold weather bad for electric cars? Cold weather can affect your electric car's battery in a number of ways, as explained by BP Pulse, which supplies charging infrastructure for electric vehicles at a very high cost, by the way. Lithium-ion batteries rely on chemical reactions to generate power, and cold weather slows down these reactions, making batteries less efficient, the vehicle charging network says. The cold weather drains batteries in electric vehicles in other ways that don't apply to traditional fuel-powered cars, it adds. Like I've just shown you, as turn the heating off, 20 miles an hour range increases. Unlike a petrol or diesel car that use waste engine heat to warm the cabin.
A petrol or diesel car uses waste heat from the engine to heat the cabin. Well, petrol and diesel cars both use more fuel in freezing weather, due to longer engine warm-up times, thicker oil causing more friction. The need for richer fuel mixtures, lower tyre pressures, increased use of heating defrosting systems, with fuel economy dropping by 10 to 20%, and more in city driving. So diesel engines are particularly affected as cold air density requires more fuel. The fuel itself can gel, while petrol engines need more enrichment for cold starts.
EVs have to draw power directly from the battery for heating and demisting the windscreen. This can be one of the biggest factors in reducing your range. Furthermore, to perform optimally and charge at speed, your EV's battery pack often needs to be warmed up, BP Pulse says, which is correct.
BP Pulse says the battery needs to be warmed up to charge at speed. And now this is about charging speeds and nothing to do with the performance of an EV versus the petrol car. And if you were thinking BP will tell you anything negative about a petrol car, then think on.
You have to precondition the battery to actually charge it as well. Your car's thermal management system uses energy from the battery to do this, which could reduce range, especially before charging or at the start of a journey, it adds. How much range does an EV lose in the cold? Well, I've just shown you that. Switching the heater off, you gain 20 miles an hour, 20 miles more. Most modern EVs in the UK typically lose between 10 to 30% of their range when the temperature falls below 5 degrees, according to the electric vehicle platform ONEEV. And it's below, well, it's 5 degrees now. And as I've said, 325 miles of range at 99% now, it's gone down. In summer, I get well over 400 miles of range. So you're losing a lot of range. Now, in a car that's got this much range, it probably doesn't make that much difference because I won't drive 325 miles today and it'll be charged up in the garage. It says the most reliable data on this comes from cold weather testing by independent organisations such as the RAC and Auto Express. It says the results align with findings of Scandinavian tests taken in harsher winters.
So he says he gets a great range from his Porsche, which is very nice, but he says nothing about the reduced range of a petrol car or a diesel car in colder weather.
EV charging in a sustainable energy business, GridServe, again they're expensive, suggests losses of 10 to 20%, meaning that for a car with 200 miles range on a nice day, on a frozen winter morning, you're more likely to get 160 miles. However, ONEV points out that petrol and diesel cars are also less efficient in winter, often using up to 15% more fuel, although drivers rarely notice due to the size of their tanks.
At last, petrol cars are less efficient during the winter, and I think he means rarely, not really, notice because of their tanks.
And as I've said, the size of this car, this Taycan Gen 2, the range is that high on it, doesn't really bother me anymore. In contrast, EV drivers might notice the difference more clearly on their dashboard display. Do electric cars charge in freezing weather? Yes, they do. I've charged mine in freezing weather. Yes, your EV can still be charged in freezing weather, but at a slower rate. A cold battery can't accept a charge as quickly as a warm one, says BP Pulse. When you plug into a rapid or ultra-fast charger on a freezing day, some of the initial energy may go into warming the battery before your car can charge at its faster rate. That's why I precondition my battery as I'm going to a charging point if I go to a public one.
Yes, my Tesla and most EVs do this before fast charging.
Since I've had this Gen 2, I've had very, very rare occasions that I've had to charge on a public charger. As EVs draw more energy in the cold weather when the battery is very low, ONEV advises drivers to charge their batteries before they drop below 20% to maximise efficiency. Online car marketplace CarWow advises drivers to use slow charging whenever practical, to protect their car's battery during the winter, as this is better for battery life. You should also keep the battery between 20 and 80% charged, only charging to 100% if you must for longer journeys, it adds. Is it getting better? Yes, according to EV research site Recurrent, which wrote in November 2024 that heat pumps, a newer and more efficient type of heater, can improve driving range during the winter by 8 to 10%.
Yes, heat pumps improve efficiency, like my Tesla Model 3. At last, he's saying something positive. He's going to have to be careful.
Smug mode. Well, I can't hang around here saving your necks all day. I guess I'll go and make a start on that ironing.
Resistive heating units that may have EVs have been relying on generate 1 unit of heat for every unit of electricity used, the site adds, while heat pumps can generate 3 to 4 units. The electric car scheme, which allows workers to save money on EVs through salary sacrifice, claims heat pumps can improve winter range by 10 to 30% compared to traditional resistive heating system. Should it put people off buying an EV? I would say before this, you need to see whether an EV fits your remit of your modern day. I've always said, for running around town, if you can charge at home on your driveway, then yes, an EV may be for you. But longer journeys and you don't have your own driveway, and if you have to charge on public chargers, I'd say absolutely not. Public chargers cost an absolute fortune. I've charged on a public charger. To charge this fully on a public charger would cost me near £100 to get 325 miles in winter, so absolutely not.
Absolutely, yes. A Tesla in particular is ideal for driving all over the country, all over the continent. And to say it's only any good in the city is absolutely nonsense. Costs of a Tesla supercharger is 9.5p a mile. That's based on figures for my Tesla Model 3. Most Tesla superchargers are about 23p a kilowatt hour from midnight to 8 in the morning. And the general public can use them. So if you're up early in the morning, a Tesla supercharger will cost less than the electricity you're getting at home during the day. No one except a motoring journalist ever fills up an EV from 0 to full. But hypothetically, if I did, it's a 50 kilowatt battery, and between 8 a.m. to midnight, it would cost me £20. If I got up early at 7 a.m., that's only going to cost me £11.50, because a lot of the Tesla superchargers during the evening are only 23p a kilowatt hour. Now, his battery is much bigger than mine. I'm not sure if it's double. So my calculation, that would either cost him £40 if he filled up a Tesla supercharger during the day, £23 at night. So where he's getting his £100 from is going to the most expensive public chargers. Many of them are owned by the oil companies, and so they can then claim, oh yeah, it's dearer than petrol charging at a public charger, which many of them are owned by the oil companies, and that's quite disgraceful. If you're thinking of buying EV, don't be put off by his mathematics and his 100,000 plus Porsche Taycan, which he can afford because of his videos. Also, local driving nonsense. I've driven to the top of Scotland, Cornwall many times, Spain, and the south of Portugal, and the Tesla supercharger network is brilliant throughout Europe. Brilliant throughout the world.
Technology. Many drivers in the UK still appear to be mindful of an EV's range when making the switch. Research by the AA suggests range anxiety affects 73% of potential EV buyers, according to the car broker Motorfinity.
Well, I've never had range anxiety in over 4 years in my Tesla. The supercharger network is so good.
I've not had any range anxiety, particularly in this car, since I've had the Gen 2. And a lot of people will say, yeah, but you're driving a 100 grand car, so does it really count?
That's good to hear. He's never had range anxiety in his 100 grand car. You can buy a Tesla from £8,000 or less and never get range anxiety. You don't have to spend 100,000.
We'll go on. What else is in here? Limitations on EVs due to cold weather does not appear to have put off buyers in Norway, and obviously it's colder in Norway, which is known for its sub-zero winter temperatures, and is leading the way in adoption of electric cars. In 2025, electric vehicles in Norway accounted for 96% of new cars sold, up from 88.9% in 2024. According to Norwegian Road Federation data. It does make you think, if Norway's doing that, where's England going to be?
So Norway, 96% of new cars are EVs. Good fact. So what's his video all about? EVs struggling in cold weather. You could die. Where's England going to be? What about Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland? It's not just England, you know. We're British, aren't we? United Kingdom and all that.
As I say, does the cold weather affect an electric car? Yes, it does. If you've got a car like the Taycan Gen 2, then for me, it's not really affected me because I've got that much range on it now. I'm not going to be driving 325 miles around the UK today. And in summer, 400 and odd miles. So I don't get particularly range anxiety anymore. But as I will reiterate, if you don't have a driveway, if you don't have anywhere to charge your car while you're at home, it is going to cost you more than an equivalent petrol or diesel. And that is fact. So
this is just not true. He's basing his numbers on the very dearest public chargers and then adding a bit more. Tesla superchargers will cost you half the cost of petrol or diesel. And if you can go at quieter times before 8 in the morning, it's only going to be around a quarter the price of petrol. So, and that's without the cost of servicing. I've had the car over 4 years and I've had my first bill today, and it wasn't at all bad. Apart from tyres, there's very little to go wrong. So it's not just the cost of public charging, which in many cases is quite extortionate. There's a lot less to go wrong with a car, so there are less costs. And of course it's quieter and it's cleaner, and yes, it's better for the environment because all the parts can be recycled. No one's ever recycled a gallon of petrol or diesel. So these are my conclusions. I really hope you can subscribe and like. That would be fantastic. If you're thinking of buying a new Tesla, they've never been cheaper. and they're under 38,000, much cheaper than they were 4 years ago. Please use my referral code. It's down below, or we'll put it up somewhere. It will be there, and you'll get a discount on, or some free superchargings, or you'll get something. I get something also. Or why not buy a used Tesla? They're fantastic. I'd be interested in what you have to say. That would be great. I wasn't going to do this video, but when I saw these lies, and they are lies, when you just start off with the clickbait thumbnail, it's absolutely ridiculous. And if you're thinking of buying an electric vehicle, if you do it, you will never look back, and it's so much cleaner, quieter and nicer driving an electric vehicle. So lovely to see you again. Thanks for joining me again, really appreciate it, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.